and colleague Ani Lipitz. I'm
Hello.
in northern Israel, and Ani is in sort of northern New York, right? It's not really northern New York, but
No,
borderline.
kind
No,
of. I
kind
don't
of.
know. I grew up in upstate New York, which was not actually upstate. Like Buffalo's really upstate, and now they call us upstate just because we're 30 miles north of Manhattan. So it's all relative.
Yeah.
Reality is relative. So
So they say. So they say. Okay, so it's been a while since it's been at least like a week or two, maybe two, since I've been on. And there's so much going on, and there's so much going on inside. At least from here, at least my perspective is that there's so much going on inside here in Israel, each person and me, that it's hard to do deep processing. Not hard to do deep prayer, but it's hard to do deep processing. And I'm working on that because I think it's really, really important for us to create clarity around everything that's happening as much as possible, and especially what our role is. So I've been talking to Ani as usual and talking about what has to happen, what this is all about. How much do we have to get into? Like, people who are in Israel, I think I can say, I mean, there could be exceptions, but I haven't met one. People are really feeling strange. People are really feeling a lot of ups and downs, and courage and unity and love and fear, and just really, up and down the spectrum, and it shifts. And I don't know what people are. I know that some people outside of Israel are feeling those kinds of things. I don't know if it's in the same way. If it's in, I really don't know. But I know that we have to use what we're getting. Like, okay, here's what I believe, and then I'll give it over to Ani. I believe that everything that happens in the world, especially these great big and actually prophetic things, this is prophetic. A lot of people are feeling like this is part of the Gog and Magog, that final war, that prophecy war, which, by the way, can unfold in all kinds of different ways. But even the idea that ships are coming outside of Israel, this is prophecy. These things are prophesied. It's really quite amazing and strange. We have to see that God is throwing a ball, or like he's hitting the ball with the racket. And then what is our, hit back? What is it that we are meant to do with that? So I think that it's really important not to ignore what's happening, not to try to float above it, and also not to be dragged down by it.
yeah,
Because there's some other thing that's meant to happen in the alchemy of God's unfolding events and our unfolding self-revelation and awakening. Anyway, that's what I wanted to start with. So Ani, let's
yeah,
hear. This is real and raw. We talked a little bit. We voice note back and forth for the last couple of hours, but we haven't really, gotten into in person and talked. So let's see what comes out. And you guys want
yeah,
to hear from in the chat also. Questions, comments, insights, thoughts, please.
yeah. So there's obviously whenever every moment, but especially when things like this are happening so intensely on a collective level, right? And no matter where any of us lives, we're connected to what's happening, because this is happening in our heart, in our soul, in our minds, in our bodies. No matter where we're physically located, this is all of us. And we are asking, Hashem is saying, time for a massive up leveling, y'all. Massive up leveling. Huge forces are being manifest in the world. I mean, literally the end of the series of Tishrei holidays, when we just literally downloaded a new reality, is when this upheaval began.
Yeah.
So we are upheaval, to say the least. So we are being, Hashem is like, you guys drew something huge down, and we need to be containers for it. And when there's a whole new massive energy in the world, how do we contain it so that it can be harnessed and used to create only positive things, only good things, only sweet things, is by up leveling. And so that can look like so many different things, and it has to look like a lot of different things for all of us, because we are multidimensional beings, and our responsibility in this world, how we need to show up, is multidimensional. So one thing that could look like is, what's an area of halacha that I have neglected? What's one mitzvah I can take on? What's something that and we have to, and it's something that it can't be a formula. It's something that we have to really listen to my neshama, as the Rebbe says, like vazakter neshama. What does your neshama say? What do you intuitively feel like? I really need to tighten that up. I need to spend a little more time learning I need to learn differently, right? It can't just be by rote. I have to let what I learn in Torah change
You
me.
mean learning Torah? Yeah, and
Torah,
speak
exactly.
about, I mean, speak about how that
Yeah.
applies to people of all backgrounds. Like we talked about this
Yes.
before
Yeah, we
we
were
came
talking about
on.
that this morning
This is
also.
not
Yeah.
only about Jews.
No. And the biggest thing, one of the biggest things that's very, very clear to me coming through from my soul is that every single Jew and every single non-Jew, every single person, and if Jewish or non-Jewish, regardless of your level of observance of anything, like right now, if let's say, I'm going to just say, let's say you're a Jew who is, you identify as Jewish, you're not practicing that much overtly, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Every single one of us needs to educate ourselves on Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, on the 7 mitzvahs for all mankind, and start talking to people about it. And it doesn't mean you have to go chase people down and hand out pamphlets, but let's say you go to work tomorrow and your work bestie is there, and you're like, "Hey girl, good morning. I'm Jewish, right? So that means that, the Torah is a part of my life. Did you know that the Torah actually has passed for all mankind? Did you know it's not just like a Jewish thing?" Like, and just start talking to people, making them aware of their connection to Torah. And it's not like a missionary-ish thing. It's like, just start talking to people about it, and they're so interested in it. And there's this amazing book by somebody this guy who is remained totally anonymous. He goes under the pseudonym Pnei Hashem. The book is called You can find it on Amazon. It's a book that is basically, yeah, it is. It's incredible it's mysticism. It's Hasidus in the most unbelievably relevant, beautiful, practical way. I've given so many copies of this to non-Jewish like friends and family. I gave one to my equestrian trainer, and I literally heard her a few days later telling another one of her students about what she was learning in the book. And I'm like, she's now become a beacon of Hasidus and Torah. Like, this is incredible. And so the Rebbe emphasized so many times that the Rebbe even said that if we had done our job educating people about Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, like the Holocaust could have been avoided. And obviously, why is that relevant? Because people are bringing Holocaust comparisons to what's happening right now and
With
being
good
like,
reason.
"Oh my God," with good reason, 1,000%, yes. And so let's learn, and let's upgrade. And again, literally just educate yourself. AskNoah.org is a great resource. There's
Type
also
that into the chat.
yeah. And there's also Noahide Nations. You can find them also on Facebook. Fantastic resources. You don't have to become a scholar or an expert. Even just knowing that it exists and mentioning its existence to people, you are already elevating the consciousness of the world to bring it closer to God.
That's
And
Noah.
to help
Hang on,
things
that's
play out.
Noahide with the C. Noahide Nations or Noahide
No,
Nations?
Noahide Nations. Yeah, with an
Okay,
H.
if you're listening to the replay, you won't see the chat. So that's Ask Noah, like
.org.
Noah the Ark.com,
Yeah.
or Noahide.
.org, I'm pretty sure.
.org. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And
Or
then there's
Noahide
Noahide Nations also. They
Yeah,
have a
so
really
we're
great
talking about
social
this.
media.
They're called the Noahide laws or the Noahide laws, but really the true name for this path in Torah for all people of the world is the 7 mitzvahs b'nai Noach. Sheva mitzvahs b'nai Noach. Means the 7 laws of the descendants of Noah. Who's the descendants of Noah? Every single
All
human being.
mankind. Yeah.
Everybody was killed except for the Noah and his children and their
Yeah.
wives. So, yeah, in the
Yeah.
flood. So
And
this
it's
is
interesting
everybody.
because a lot of non-Jews identify with the 10 commandments, and it's not necessarily so well known that the 10 commandments were to the Jews. And it's the Sheva mitzvahs, the 7 commandments, which is on all mankind. Now, in their beautiful righteousness throughout history, the Rebbe says that the non-Jews have taken upon themselves other things that aren't direct commandments, but like honoring parents and giving charity and acting in those
Keeping the
ways.
Sabbath.
Yeah, that things that are things that that non-Jewish illuminated non-Jewish souls that really they've taken upon themselves. And the Rebbe also teaches that every single soul wants to connect to God through the pathways that are given to them. Every single soul, their deepest desire is connection to their source and their creator. And the world is ready for it. The world has been ready for it. The Rebbe said 30 years ago that Esav is ready for the Geula, and he's waiting for his brother Yaakov now. And And so like don't be afraid. Like don't be afraid that like people are going to think I'm weird. The Sheva mitzvahs, but I know these 7 mitzvahs are as deep and spiritual as every other part of Torah. So
Yeah,
don't be afraid that
100%.
it's like, behave yourself. It is beautiful, it is nourishing, it is super deep, and there's tons and tons of mystical Torah also that non-Jews need to learn and plug into on a deeper level.
Actually, I learned from a very well-known Chabad rabbi, Rabbi Levi Gerelik, whose parents are the head shluchim, the Chabad emissaries in Italy. He told me that the Rebbe many years ago instructed I think his father, to translate the Tanya, the premier text of Chabad Hasidus, into Hoch Italiano, to a very lofty academic Italian, because every single person needs to understand Hasidus. What is Hasidus? It's the mystical Torah. It's the inner dimension, the inner soul, the inner philosophy, the inner explanation, the inner light and divine presence that is here for every single
Of
human being.
reality, exactly,
Yeah,
of
of reality, of
Yes.
everything, and
Yes.
it gives us, it's called a netinat koach. It gives us power. It gives
Yeah.
us divine power to learn it and absorb it into the brain. It changes our brain's wiring, which then creates automatically a new reality. This is just one of the key important things that has to be done. Before we go on, people are asking what did you say the name of the book was?
You.
Just YOU, and who is
Yeah,
the author?
and the author is if you can find it on Amazon, it's Pnei Hashem, Pnei Hashem, Hashem, and you can find him on Facebook as well. He's very active on Facebook. He's very intriguing. He's a very intriguing person.
Wow.
Nobody
I'm
knows
hearing about this.
nobody knows who he is. He will not reveal his actual identity. I have he has one story as to why. I have my theories as to why that actually is, but not my business. All I know is that the book is phenomenal, and it can be given to any human. It's relevant to
Wow.
every human, Jewish, non-Jewish, and he has a more advanced version of the book for people who are a little more versed in Torah study, which is called Pnei Hashem. So
Yeah, somebody just wrote that in the
yeah,
chat, that she has the
yep,
second book.
the more
Yeah,
advanced
I don't
version.
remember hearing about this before. I wonder if I can get it delivered in Israel. That sounds pretty amazing.
You should be able to. I thought he was Moshe Gunoth at first, Rabbi Gunoth, but it's not.
You know for sure?
I know for sure because I talked to Moshe Gunoth about it, and I talked to Pnei Hashem about it, and the way they talked about it, I'm like, no, it's not the same person. But I think Moshe Gunoth knows who it is. So
Oh my gosh. Well, if you get any
I guess
leads,
this is another one of the mysteries that will be revealed when the
the
full Gilui
mysteries of
is
life,
manifest.
right?
Yes, exactly.
Can you give a core, what is the core message of the book?
That you are the face of God. That's why
Wow.
it's called You. And the whole thing is about the journey home to ourselves through history and who we really are, and dispelling all of the layers and myths of original sin and all of the chitzonius, the more surface levels of self, getting down to the Pnei Hashem, getting down to the face of God that is each one of us.
So in a sense, it's core Hasidus truth for every human being.
Yes.
Applied to life.
Yeah, I can't
Wow.
recommend it enough. It's absolutely beautiful.
Wow. Amazing. That's amazing.
And
Thanks, guys.
this is not a paid
Sharing.
promotion. This is not a
Sorry,
paid
what?
promotion. This is not a paid promotion.
It couldn't be if you don't know yeah, okay. Anyway, so that sounds like a really, really, really good place to start.
Yeah.
And I think the point of this is, and I've been thinking about this lately also, that when I ask myself, what is one thing that will literally change the world? Now, anything can change the world. One good thought can change the world. Well, soon I want to start talking here about breaking through the matrix, which is
which is
also part of this.
Another part of it, yeah.
Right, but they go together. But what is the one thing that the world is most missing? And as somebody put here in the chat, please keep your comments, questions, whatever coming. It's so important for us to connect. By the way, third tangent, commercial break. I this morning started working on putting together a summit, Prophecy, Israel, and the Future of Mankind, which I hope to do maybe as early as next week. It depends on how fast speakers answer me. It won't be huge. It'll be like 8 to 10 speakers, maybe some panels for Q&A, but I'll be asking people to share it, because we really need to up-level the conversation in the world, and the level of knowledge and the calls to action and the field that we're connecting to. It's also important. So the reason that Ani brings up the 7 mitzvahs is because the Rebbe said that this is the divine path to a sustainable, inhabitable world. Without some commandment, without some divine structure, we can easily see that people can make up anything, to the point where the worst horror, they can be saying that this is divine, this is in the name of God, this is good. And it would be, and there are, everything is coming out of the woodwork. We're really, really seeing where people are standing, which I think it's horrifying on the one hand, and it's edifying. At the same time, we have to see it. Evil has to be sorted out from good. And if we can't see the difference, we have a big, big problem, a really big problem. And that's part of what got us to this point. So yes, we ended up here. And now we need to get somewhere else as fast and as beautifully and as gracefully and as supernaturally as we can.
Right.
Yeah. So teaching knowing that there's a path, that the Torah is for everybody, that there is a core path for all humans to thrive. And it doesn't mean that you're stuck there. Everybody is free to come as close to, the ultimate service of God as they want to. But it starts with this. It starts with, these are the things that will destroy the world, and these are the things that will sustain the world. So we all have to, as Ani says, be educated in that and start to share it in any possible way that we can.
Yep.
Also, for Jews to do, in the simple sense, I don't talk about this so much. It seems self-evident, and I go the more spiritual path when I speak. But to light, there are 10 mitzvahs that the Rebbe specified over time that literally changed the world for Jews to do. And one of them, I have to actually look them up. I don't remember all by heart. One of them is for women to light candles before Shabbat and holidays in the appropriate way, with blessings. To give tzedakah, charity, that's something that, to put aside something every day, and then give it to needy people or to Torah institutions or whatever. Charity, tzedakah, brings geula closer. Tzedakah, it says, saves us from death. These are things that we can unite on, and Jews and non-Jews can do this. This is something everybody should be doing. It sustains the world. When you give the money that you use to sustain your life, on some level, you're giving away your life force for others. That is the ultimate blessing, because we are being like God. We're giving from ourselves to sustain life. So that's another thing that we can do to fill in. I'll be talking about more of these things. We don't have to go through it right now, but if you want to, you can look up the Rebbe's the mitzvah campaigns of the Rebbe, and to encourage other people, to try one thing. Somebody wrote me on my Telegram, actually private messaged me on Telegram just half an hour ago, that she joined my Telegram group. She doesn't feel comfortable yet sharing. She's Jewish, but she doesn't know about Judaism. She's trying to light the candles before Shabbat. That is massive. That brings a divine light that changes the world.
It's another soul getting activated in another way and starting to generate. Yeah. Because every single one of us needs to come online.
Yeah.
In whatever ways we can. Yeah.
And we're not separate anymore, not just because of the internet, but we can feel each other's feelings. I can tell you guys that in Israel, the feeling, besides feeling really strange, and going through this gamut of emotions, but the way that people are instantly stepping up for each other, instantly connecting to God, instantly connecting to the soul, going on the front lines to sing and dance with soldiers, making food. I heard from somebody that was delivering pizza to soldiers that they said, please stop. We need to be in fighting shape. You have to stop giving us all this food. But, the soldiers, apparently, a lot of them, thousands and thousands of them, have been asking for tzitzit, which maybe, Ani, you want to explain what that is? It's a spiritual protection. Why don't you explain what that is? And people are raising money, and stores are giving them away. This is
really incredible. Yeah, the tzitzit, or the tzitzis, as we Ashkenazim say. It's the mitzvah that on a four-cornered garment, you have ritual fringes, which are there to symbolize and hold the energy of all of the commandments. So men wear these. And it's a massive protection that you literally wear under your clothes with the tzitzis out. Most people wear their tzitzis out. And so that I heard that there are tons and tons of soldiers who haven't done this before, who the souls are feeling moved. Apparently,
they're asking for it.
For tzitzis. Yeah, it's huge. And again, like the technical, the halacha and the mitzvah piece is a huge piece of it. And the thing to remember is that the attitude that I want us to make sure we're not taking, because it's not a geula attitude, it's not an intimate with God attitude, is we're not doing these mitzvahs saying to prove to Hashem that we're finally good enough that he should just send Mashiach. Like it's to align and to plug into who we really are, and to plug in with God, and to be like, look, the Rebbe told us the Geula reality is here, and we have to plug in and upgrade, and a lot of that has to do with shifting the way that we do mitzvahs and engage with these things. That if we notice that we're like, oh, Hashem, like, are we good enough yet? Maybe explore the possibility, because this is something I unpacked in my own relationship with God also. And I was talking to Riv Karanas about this earlier, is that I was totally projecting my own codependent relationship patterns onto Hashem, like feeling like this sense of like, oh my God, am I good enough yet? Like not able, because I had a problem being in actual relationship with human beings, because those were my relational patterns, projected the same thing onto Hashem. And so one of the things that I was constantly engaging in was mind reading. What's the choice Hashem wants me to make here? I have to figure out how to read his mind and make the right choice, so I won't be punished and I won't make him unhappy. And I was like, oh, hello, childhood wounds. The Torah literally says, Tam Emteya, you should be authentic with Hashem, which is explained to mean don't try to predict the future. No future prediction, no fortune telling. That there's a big difference between that and when you actually get a vision or an intuition or a Ruach HaKodesh from your soul. But to sit and try to calculate predicting the future and things like that, that's a human desire for control, trauma response thing. I
definitely have that.
Yeah. So if we know that Hashem doesn't want us to have a relationship with him where it's like, were we good enough? Are we going to get spanked? Do we get the gold star? That is our infantile version of relationship with Hashem. And which is
not to negate that it is infinite good to do mitzvahs, whether you are infantile or not.
1,000%. No, 1,000%. But to understand that that's not the stopping point. And too many people have just stayed in that place, and they're like, and they're getting burnt out, and they are in absolute despair, and they are in panic. And if we're going to move this whole thing forward for everyone, the place from which we are doing mitzvahs and the internal context from which we are engaging with mitzvahs also needs to expand and upgrade.
100%. And I mean, just keeping it to make it very simple, fear will awaken people to a point, but it's not sustainable.
Right, exactly.
Too much fear will shut you down. So we have, yes.
Yeah, a lot of people have been in freeze. A lot of people have been in total freeze mode.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's one of the other things that I wanted to bring up, is that it's very important. We might feel frozen by what's going on, but literally the one of the most powerful and necessary ways to keep this all moving forward is to keep your personal life moving forward, your personal geula, all the things that you're working on that are important to you. You don't have to stop in your tracks because of what's going on. You don't have to stop in your tracks. Specifically, you shouldn't stop in your tracks. You need to keep all parts of your life moving forward and evolving also with simcha, with joy.
Not to be stuck in emergency. Yeah, exactly. It's probably harder here right now to do that, but still it's essential. It's essential. It's like we one of the things when you're talking about the new matrix, where we want to go, are the next level of human being. One of the things that we need to learn and ultimately master is to be in more than one reality at the same time.
Yes.
It's absolutely crucial. I know when I get triggered into fear, it's like everything that I know, I still know it, but it's not changing the fact that my system is screaming.
Right.
And that is in a way the main thing that I'm trying to work on right now, talking to God, talking to myself, working on traumas, getting more healing, because we need to get to the place. And the Rebbe said this. I was talking to Ani about this earlier. There's a mimer, a deep discourse that the Rebbe said. I don't know when it was from, but decades ago. Well, everything was from decades ago, but called Borei Nifsif Asayim, the one who creates the fruit of the lips. And basically the bottom line there is that the discourse is telling us that we need to become completely new, a Bria Chadasha. We need to be a completely new kind of entity, human being 2.0. And how does that happen? By changing the brain wiring so that instead of our brains experiencing the world from the physical survival perspective, we're experiencing it from the God Torah perspective. And literally that's meant not to be above us. It does start above us with what people call emunah, with faith, but it's got to actually be our everyday, our personal reality, to the point where the name again is Borei Nifsif Hasayim, the one who creates the fruit of the lips, till the default speech, what you say when you're unconscious, what you say when you're mad, what you think and know and say, what you say when you're triggered and terrified, that has to be God Torah. When that's God Torah, there's no more illness, there's no more war, there's no more trauma, there's no more nothing. That's the transformation. And the Rebbe said at the end of this mimer, he said a person could think to themselves and imagine that that's not what they really want, that they don't want to do that intense work to make that transformation, and they might not have to. They might imagine that they don't have to, but they do, and everyone will. And when we learn that, and when we tell ourselves, he said, actually, when we explain to ourselves that this is actually what our souls came down for, so this is our true will, then the process of the work that it takes to do that becomes filled with pleasure and desire and not trauma.
Yes.
I think that's basically what you're saying. Yes,
exactly. The pleasure and the joy, and when things like when horrendous things are going on and have gone on, and we're reeling from them, we can feel guilty feeling good, and we can feel guilty feeling good, and the paradox of that is that we know that staying besimcha, staying in joy, especially in the face of darkness, is a huge remedy for that darkness and for what's manifesting. And and one of the stories that really emphasizes this, and when you really think about everything having to do with the story I'm about to tell you, it's just like, oh my God, let's unpack this for a long time. So the Mittler Rebbe, the second Chabad Rebbe, he had a group of his Hasidim, including his own son, train as trick riders, horseback riders. They learned how to be trick riders with a troop of horses. And the Mittler Rebbe would have them perform specifically to arouse joy and simcha in the people. And we also learned specifically when there were gezeras, like constrictive realities that were going to be manifesting. And he would literally have them perform in order to raise the joy and avert these gezeras. I mean, we could unpack so much about that, like the fact that like it wasn't bittul Torah. It wasn't like a nullification of Torah learning to have these Hasidim, including his own son, learn how to become adept horseback riders enough that they could be like trick riders. Like there's so much to unpack there. So much to unpack there. But we have permission from these massive tzaddikim to feel good and to do things that bring us joy. Even especially, it's not callous, it's not flippant, especially in the face of things that are so painful and constrictive.
Bring us and other people joy.
Us and others, yeah, 1,000%, 1,000%, 1,000%, exactly, to bring ourselves and other people joy, because that's how we keep the energy flowing, and that's how we expand the channels, so that anything that's coming through, as it passes through that field of joy, actually changes shape into revealed good. Simcha poretz getter, that the joy breaks through all these bounds. Yeah.
Right, which the Rebbe said so many times in the last year or so, before, when we're still hearing from him. For now, again and again, simcha poretz getter, joy breaks barriers, joy breaks all the barriers of exile.
And the concept of simcha atzmi, of joy just because, that's actually my son, Yosef Yitzchak, my 4-year-old, that's actually his birthday parsha. So his birthday sicha from the Rebbe is about, it turned out to be about his name, Yosef Yitzchak, which means increasing in laughter, and about simcha atzmi, joy just because, like just because.
For those of you who've seen if you haven't, you can look up videos. You can look up the Rebbe on the Gulf War. You can look up the Rebbe after the Yom Kippur War, and in a video right after the Yom Kippur War started, it was still during the war. The Rebbe said, people could ask why we are looking to a joyous celebration now in the face of all of this, and he explains how powerful joy is, and especially it was still in the month of Tishrei. I just want to say that it's, that war, it was 50 years, probably most people realize this, it was 50 years since, to the day, apparently, since the Yom Kippur War. People say it was the day after, but word is coming out that it started the night before, and there was already infiltration the night before, the last, which Hoshana Rabbah, which for many, many years, I've been tuned into that. That's when Gog and Magog is supposed to start, on Hoshana Rabbah. Not that it's funny, but we need to be joyful anyway. The fact that it was like people all over the world were dancing with the Torah in rejoicing, feeling that total upliftment. It's the happiest day of the year, before knowing anything. That means that we were already beating back that breach, the darkness that got in.
Yeah.
And I want to say right here that it seems to me, I mean, we have to look at, again, like I said in the beginning, we have to look at what God is doing. to get the wisdom that and the message that he's trying to impart, we have to be very discerning to try to get the right message. Like some people are talking about how, we did so many bad things and it's our, we created that breach and Hashem is mad at us. I don't believe that. And I don't think that it's at all productive or life embracing or Geula aligned to think that way. And also, I think it doesn't work. Like at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself what works, what's sustainable, and massive fear, trauma, and self-hatred, and the feeling that God is constantly judging you and that he wants to do horrific things, God forbid, because you're not keeping Shabbat or whatever. That is not a healthy or sustainable way of thinking. All it will do is shut you down.
Yeah.
And that is not what we want. We're in a different era, but we do have to realize that many people are sleeping and many people are unaware of evil and many people are brainwashed by evil, and there does need to be a wake up. And that wake up is pretty intense, and we want to keep it from getting more intense. So we want to harness the energy that was created by this breach and really, really direct it to the best that we can by a wave of holiness, a wave of transformation, a wave of higher consciousness, a wave of true unity, a wave of all of this, a wave of the 7 mitzvahs of Jews doing
our personal upgrades in our lives, our personal geula stuff in our own lives.
Yes, that and all of it all goes together. It all goes together, and each one of us to be a leader and to bring at least another person into a new action, a new awareness. Even if one step at a time, everyone can do that. And how long would it take with this technology? I can just feel it. I can feel the potential of a huge, like it's already happening in Israel, but it can accelerate a huge wave of godliness and light coming from our souls and our actions and our minds and our hearts. What would that do? How would that assist in our own personal transformation and vice versa? And I'll tell you one other thing. And I say this knowing that I don't know anything. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. It's one of the reasons why Israel feels so strange. Nobody has a clue what's going on or what's going to go on. But I can tell you that there's been a shift. Since we were all like, the whole world was utterly shocked. Anyone who's tuned in, anyone who's not in this, brainwashed by evil or evil themselves, a tremendous shock that this could have happened. Like a shock beyond, I talked to an influencer a few days after who said, I don't know, I can't speak. I never expected this. How is it possible that God did this? Now we don't know what to. I can tell you that the divine protection, the miracles that Israel has experienced in the past, they are back right now. They are happening. Like the constant, whenever the missiles are falling, we hear, no injuries or a light injury. We don't want any injuries. We don't want any missiles, but there has to be a certain amount of wake up. If there has to be fear, let it just be fear and let us wake up so we don't need the fear. And likewise, soldiers are succeeding in tremendous ways. There is seems like a large degree of divine protection right now that we want to amplify and up level, like as fast and as big and as deep and as broad as we can.
Yeah, totally. And 2 things that I want to say. The first is the videos that are going around of the achdus, of the togetherness of, the people who are not currently practicing Torah and mitzvahs in a conscious, open way with super religious people dancing together. And that's a beautiful response, but that's a beautiful response. We need to start doing that proactively of our own, or do more of it, doing it proactively out of our own free will and desire and pleasure, instead of needing it squeezed out of us for these things to happen. And that's totally our choices that we can make, is to reach out to someone, or even just to smile at somebody in a grocery store, a stranger, to out of our own pleasure and desire in just connecting to other people in a positive way. Then we don't need it squeezed out of us. And the Rebbe's, the mimer of Be'ata Tetzaveh is all about this. The concept of revealing this deepest part of ourself, the Yechida, the part of us that's one with God, which manifests most deeply through the soul's desire, will, and pleasure, true will and pleasure. When we reveal that proactively and bring that into every choice that we're making as much as we can, then we don't need the Yechida squeezed out of us. And literally that's the mimer. And and then secondly, I made this video, which was, if I have to sum it up in a nutshell, it's hell no to the apocalypse. That, we do know what's playing out is massively biblical, and we know that there are a lot of apocalyptic type prophecies from Torah itself. And I feel deeply, first of all, Hashem's delight and pleasure is in life and transformation. His priority is always preservation of good life and growth. He has no desire whatsoever for war, for apocalypse. We know that literally when the Egyptians died in the sea, he was mourning because it was
Right.
his creations. He would have preferred that they had done tshuva and learned and grown. A second movement of tshuva is enough to secure person more life and more chances to stay in their body and keep growing. That's Hashem's deepest preference. Okay, he doesn't kach in the apocalypse. Okay, he doesn't want that. And so I feel that it's an affront to God. It's an affront to us, to our human potential, and to God's deepest preference for how reality plays out. To be expecting an apocalypse, to be just hunkering down and being like, oh, we can't stop what's coming. We can and we should, because it's an affront to like all of us, to our divine image, to our human potential, and to God's deepest desire. If
And to all of the work that has been done, and all
Yes,
of the
exactly.
loyalty and all of the suffering.
It's not freaking Geuladik to have some type of mass scale horrible thing that we have to then spend more generations healing from. Are you kidding me? No. Not here for that. Okay, I'm going to say that again. No. So like we
Amen
don't
to the
so we
no.
don't and so we don't need that. And yes.
And so what is our path? That's we
Right,
don't get to be
exactly.
passive.
Exactly.
We don't get to
So
be aloof.
the path is no, it's not about aloofness. It's about taking that and saying these massive currents are here for my empowerment, for me to upgrade. And whatever I feel moved to do from these depths of my soul, another mitzvah that I need to take on, an area of halacha that I need to be a little more careful with or connect to more deeply, any opportunity that I have to connect to another person, to share a Torah idea, to learn something, to go tell my non-Jewish work bestie tomorrow, hey, did you know that there's this thing called 7 mitzvahs for all mankind? That itself, right?
To not hold a grudge, to get over it.
To not hold a grudge, to drop to drop any like inner identification with passivity of like someday Mashiach will come. Like, no, now we have to tap into that now to really to be empowered, and because we know even from Torah itself there are many opinions on how Gog and Magog, which it seems pretty obvious we're there, can play out. It could end up being dialogue, right? It could end up being a dialogue. It could end up being people standing there, waving their weapons at each other. It could end up being all a facade and white hats are already in control and the whole thing ends up being on some level a big facade and like ready to take over. Like,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And the biggest thing is that the Rebbe gave us so many precedents in consciousness and current events to ascribe to this. It's not like floofy, oh, I wish. The Rebbe literally said that there's a prophecy that says that like 2/3 or 2/3 of the world will die, God forbid. And the Rebbe said, yeah, it could mean that they transform so intensely that it's as though their former lower selves have died. And so there's that. And then also, with the wall coming down and the Iron Curtain falling and communism, just like regime change, not that there wasn't upheaval, but it wasn't this horrible bloody massacre. The Rebbe already said that's Mashiach, guys. And the biggest thing for us is to catch the parts of ourselves that are getting swept along by the apocalyptic fear or terror or fervor and take those parts back into us and say, what can I do?
I just heard a big boom. Just saying. I just heard a plane and a big boom.
All right.
Another big boom. No siren.
No siren.
No shelter in this house either. Oh well. Let's keep talking.
All right. Our Torah is the shelter. But to say that like what I need is to be as empowered as possible, and the parts of me that are truly terrified and frozen. So let me get some help. Let me reach out for some help.
Are you in Sfat, Chana? Are you also in Sfat? It could be artillery fire going north. We saw that last week. Hopefully. I'm sorry.
They're gonna say that's the end of it right there. That's the wall falling down right now, and we're done. That's what we're gonna claim that.
What I was going to say before is that what I got goosebumps a little while ago when you were talking. I can feel that if we can unite on the level of hearts, minds, and souls as all good people who love God, who want to love each other, who are part of this process of building a better world, whether you're new to it or you've been working on it for a long time, does not matter at all.
Right.
If we can unite together in the path of goodness and truth and godliness, I could see that all it would take is like Hashem can create a massive quantum change in consciousness in an instant, and then there doesn't have to, the matrix can just resolve.
Exactly.
I mean, just dissolve. There have been many times in the last few weeks when I've had a blip of feeling like none of this is real. Now,
Right.
obviously, it's real on the physical level.
Right.
Or what, although there's a lot of fake news. We don't, it's hard to know exactly what's happening where and who's whom and why and how. But also there is a part of each of us, and I want everybody to just focus on that for a second. Just just invite yourself to be aware there's a part of you that isn't bound to any of this, that's outside of this, that's deeper, that's eternal, that's infinite, that's peaceful, that is inviolable, that is indestructible, that is unaffected, that can rise into your awareness, into your cellular wiring, and make you supernatural, a supernatural warrior for God and for redemption. And I think we need to get in touch with that part as deeply and as strongly as we can, and as quickly as we can.
Yeah. Yeah. And that a simple tool to do that is literally to ask Hashem, ask God to help you hear the voice of your soul, that deepest voice, as it wants to manifest in every choice that you're making. What's to ask your soul to ask Hashem, help me hear my neshama, your voice within my neshama. What's the next aligned choice for me to make? And it might not be something huge and dramatic. It might be like have eggs for breakfast, literally. But if that's coming from that deepest part of your soul and you follow it, you've just established that frequency more. It literally might be have eggs for breakfast. Because if we keep expecting it to be this huge, dramatic, cosmic, universal thing,
okay.
and it might,
I don't know.
Anya, I might need to go. I'm sorry
Okay.
about that. My daughter's, hang on. You said in Rosh Pina there was siren and rockets? I might need to go to the house with the bomb shelter. I'm
Okay.
sorry, guys. Maybe I can resume from there.
Okay.
Okay. Can you keep to, you can't. You can't stay on my live stream if I'm not here.
That's okay. This will
Okay.
be the hashgacha of everybody. Ask you as soon as we sign off, ask Hashem to help you hear your soul and make that next choice.
Okay, guys, I got to go. I'll
All
talk
right,
to you soon.
love you. Bye.